Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We're already 8, so I think we are complete today and no one is absent. So we may now start our discussion. Once again, good afternoon. I am your teacher, Khim, your teacher for today. You can call me by my first name or you can call me by my last name or surname. And how about you? How can I call you? By your first name?
First name po.
First name basis,
First name
ma'am.
basis. Okay,
First name
that's good.
po.
Okay, great. I will be calling you from now on your first name or by your first names. Okay, thank you so much for the responses. And of course, to start our day, let us fill our hearts with love, compassion, and hope by a prayer. Let us bow our heads and feel the presence of our Lord. Dear Lord, thank you so much for the blessings you are giving us every day. Come be with us today in our discussion. Fill our hearts with love, fill our hearts with peace. Fill our minds with new learning. Fill our classroom with fun. Fill our lessons with learning. We leave this in the name of the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay. Now to make our discussion delivered smoothly, we have few things to consider in our online class or during our online class. And that is always mute your mic to avoid confusion unless you are asked to speak. And then the next one is to actively participate in the discussion and enjoy our learning. I hope that everyone will be participating with our discussion for today. And of course, once you are initiated or approved to speak, you can just unmute your mic to state your answer, to share your concerns, or address any issues you are encountering. Okay? Is that fine for everyone?
Yes po.
Thank you so much, Jade, for the response. So, of course, I hope that everyone, again, will be participating with today's discussion. Now, before we begin our lesson proper, we'll need first to do a little warm-up activity. Are you ready? This is interesting, guys, because I know that you've already played this before. So the game is, let me just go to my other presentation and present it to you. Okay. Wait a minute because my laptop is not too fast. It's still loading. Oh, now, can you see my screen now?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Jeline. Okay, the title of our motivating activity is Guessing Night. No, it's not Guessing Night. It's Guessing Afternoon. So all you have to do is guess the literature from the cryptic emoji clues. Are you familiar with emoji?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, of course.
Yes po.
We're using that every day to express our emotions. Okay, so the directions state that this game has 3 rounds, an easy, a medium, and a difficult round. The game master, me, the teacher, will be showing set of emojis, and each set represents literary works from both national and international literary works. So maybe in Philippines or in other countries across the world. And participants must try to decipher the literary works from the set of the emojis presented. And to answer, participants must first unmute their microphone when initiated by the game master. So of course, you will be stating your first name since you want to be called that by your first name, and you will be stating your answer. They must say their first name first and then the answer to each item to emphasize. So again, the procedure is like this. Unmute your mic, state your first name first, state your answer, and if the participant got it incorrect, he or she will be punished by a consequence. So the consequence will be initiated by one of the students present today. So maybe your friend did not answer it correctly, then you will be giving him or her a consequence by your preference, whatever it is. But make sure, of course, that it does not hinder our discussion for today. So otherwise, he or she will not be punished. Everyone is encouraged to participate. Okay? So let us have the first item under the easy round. Okay, are you ready? Of course.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
much. So I hope that everyone is ready, and because it is very interesting. Okay. What is it? What is it? Okay. There is a butterfly emoji. Again, it can be a literary work from our country. So, it can be in English or in Tagalog. Tagalog.
Parang, ay,
Okay? You got it? So, guess more? Guess more?
Jade A for
Parang bukid.
Jade Pop.
Oh,
Ano?
Apple, you did not adhere to the rules. But what is the answer you are thinking, Jade?
Parang bukid.
Okay. Sorry, Apple, but you did not follow our rules. Again, to repeat the rules, you are going to state your first name and then you are going to state your answer. So Jade got it correct. Correct. It is paru-parong bukid. Very good, Jade. So for the next item, what is the literary work? Yeah, I know that this is very familiar to you. A boy.
Charlie and the Chocolate
Jade for,
Factory.
Okay, I will be accepting that, Apple. But first, of course, our third round, make sure that you say your name, okay? So again, okay. What is it? What's the literary work you are guessing?
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yes, very good. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And for the average round, of course, it is a more difficult round that you will be guessing set of emojis. I hope that everyone will be answer this correctly. What is this? Guess. A kid and a kid. What, a boy? Boy. And the third one is an emoji. And the last one is a baby. Okay, again, state your name first and then state the answer. What is it? Do you have anything in mind? Can you guess the again, if you did not correct it, if you did not state it, the correct answer, you will be punished by a consequence. So guess correctly. Is everyone still answering or guessing?
Yes, ma'am. Guessing po.
Okay,
But
okay.
I don't want to be punished, ma'am eh. So, wait lang, ma'am.
Okay, that is good if you're punished. Sometimes punishment is a good reinforcement, right? And of course, it is not too bold and dangerous, of course. Do you want me to give you a hint or a clue?
yes,
ma'am.
ma'am. A hint po.
Thank you so much. Okay. It is a literary work in Philippines. And it is named in a Tagalog title.
Okay po.
Moika.
Yes, Mohika, go on.
Ma'am, hara, ma'am.
Ako.
Go on, Mohika.
Paano ka ginawa?
Yes, you got it. Oh, the rule is you have to state your first. I have to state your name first. So again, Mohika did correctly in here. Again, the literary work indicated in the set of emojis is bata bata paano ka ginawa. This is very a hard one, right? Okay, Mayrick, you can ace in the in the next rounds.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, ayan, bata-bata paano ka ginawa. Okay, ito, what is this? Okay, this is a literary work from Philippines also, but it is not titled in the Tagalog version, but in English version. Smile, an emoji smiling, a boy, and the world or the earth. What is it kaya? What is the literary work? I really forgot the answer in this one. So I guess I would be guessing too, as being a participant.
Punish, ma'am.
So you want to answer because okay, what do you think is the answer? Hala, oh my gosh, you can see the answer already.
Ma'am, we did not. No, ma'am, we didn't see the answer.
You did not ba? Okay. So, okay. I guess that I hope that someone will answer this one. And of course, you are. It is fine to be punished It is very easy punishment from your student. I mean from your classmate naman.
Ma'am, any other clue?
Any other clue? Sige, I will be giving the first letter. The first two. And then one of the word that encompass the work. Happiest. Happiest. The word happiest.
Jeline, ma'am.
Okay, go on, Jeline.
I'm not sure. Okay lang, mapanish.
Meron, ma'am.
Happiest man on earth.
Happiest man on earth. Okay, what about, do you want to, okay, we will be revealing the answers.
Me, ma'am, me. Ma'am, me. Try, ma'am.
Of course, go
Is
on.
Jilin wrong, ma'am? Is Jilin wrong?
I guess so. So, Mary,
I think, ma'am, what did she say, ma'am?
our
What did you say?
happiest
I say, happiest man on earth.
on earth.
Happiest man in the world.
Happiest man in the world. Let us see if that is correct. Wow. It's actually
Dalawa
boy.
sila punish.
Oh, the two guessed incorrectly. For Jeline, who wants to punish Jeline?
Me. I will punish Jilin.
Okay, what is the consequence? Just make sure that it is not
Jilin, open your cam and work.
That's not possible in the online class.
inappropriate apple.
Another consequence I will accept.
Hmm.
Or sing for us na lang.
What?
Sing for us.
Okay, sure.
Make sure that Jeline we're going to sing short.
Sing pusong bato.
Okay.
So,
The chorus.
pusong ba to? Okay, ma'am.
Just the chorus.
Di mo alam dahil sa'yo, ako'y di makakain, di rin makatulog, buhat ng iyong lokohin. That's all, ma'am. Thank you.
Wow, galing. You're a great singer, Jeline. And of course, that punishment is not really a punishment. Okay, for Mayrick, how about Mayrick? Who wants to punish Mayrick or give Mayrick a consequence? Just make sure.
Dance, ma'am, dance.
Dance? What kind of
Very good.
What kind of dance,
Dance
ma'am?
toxic. Toxic by Britney.
dance that is appropriate, of course, in online class or especially in the teaching learning
I don't
class.
have in mind, ma'am. What?
Ma'am, I think she can share her screen
Hmm?
to show her TikTok account while dancing po.
Okay. That
You go ahead,
that
Jemima.
consequence will be done after the class. Is that okay for everyone?
Okay,
No, ma'am.
ma'am.
It's unfair for me, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. It's
If
okay.
we have time later on, let us try to maximize our time to end or to finish our discussion first. Is that okay? I'm sorry if that.
Okay po.
Okay, thanks so much, Jeline. So for the difficult round, we are not done yet with the difficult round. So let us have it now. So it is basically round 3. Can you guess it? I don't even know what I put in here. I really forgot. A kid. What is this? Pinch touching a grass? Me? No. Okay. I will give you a hint. I already remember. So if you want me to give a hint, you can say so immediately.
Give us a hint.
Ma'am, hint.
Okay, I will, okay. This literary work is authored or written by Jose Rizal, our own national hero. Okay, I will give another.
Selena.
Fernandez po.
Selena.
Fernandez.
Okay, Fernando.
Haro, ma'am. Haro.
Bay, Angeline, mami.
Later, Jillian. Okay, Fernandez, go ahead.
Oh my God. Hindi ko alam kung tama. No Limit Angere.
Okay, why do you think it's No Limit Angere?
Because No Limit Angere in English means touch me not.
Wow, you got it correct. Thank you, Jay. Touch me not. As you can see, this boy is touching or about to touch a grass, and this second is me, and this is the third one indicates a no expression. Okay. Again, okay. I think this is unfamiliar with me and by you too, I guess. So it is
Ma'am, hint po.
okay. This literary work is authored by a Filipino author, a famous Filipino author. And here you can see flower. That is bulaklak. So in the literary work, one of the words that encompass it, or the title, is bulaklak. Bulaklak. So that's the first word. Bulaklak. Tan, 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 tan. If you're familiar with that, or you want me to reveal the answer. Okay, are you still there? I think you are
Ma'am,
guessing.
another hint po.
Another hint. Okay, jail. The last word is jail. The last word is jail. So bulaklak, blank, jail.
Fernandez po.
Okay, go ahead, Jade.
Bulaklak sa City Jail.
Let us see if you got the right answer. Wow, you got it correctly. Thank you so much, Jade, for answering. So, this Bulaklak sa City Jail is actually written by Luwalhati Bautista. That ends our motivational activity for today. Thank you so much for participating our game, and of course, we will now go on with the primary discussion today. Are you seeing my screen in the...
Yes po.
Okay, thank you so much. But before that, we are not done yet, pala. So we will need to review the previous lesson. Of course, I know that you enjoyed the game. It was fun and exciting because it is already familiar with us. The game, the use of emojis, the guessing game is already familiar to us. Now, to recall the topic that we've learned in our previous lesson, we'll be taking a quick or a short quiz about it. Okay, let me give or present you another presentation about the review of the previous lesson. Are you seeing my screen now, the new presentation? Okay, I guess you're seeing it already. So, okay, all you have to do is state the answer by unmuting your mic, stating the answer, okay? So, both Sarsal and Marcelo H. Del Pilar are famous for their genre in A. Essay, B. Novel, C. Poetry, D. Drama. Can you still recall it from our previous lesson? Hello? Are you still there?
Is it B, ma'am?
Okay, let's see if the answer is right. Yes, actually, Jeline, you got the right answer. It is novel. And for the next one, the form of folk lyric which expresses hopes, aspirations, the people's lifestyles, and their love is called A. Parable, B. Riddles, C. Proverbs, D. Folk songs. So you can do the elimination strategy because, for instance, A. Parable talks about the teachings from our Lord, from our God. So it's not the answer already. Okay, so can you guess or can you recall the answer?
Is it letter D po?
Okay, let's see if the answer is folk songs. Yes, Jade, thank you so much. You got it correctly. The answer is folk songs. And for the third item, the debate in verse that is spontaneously done with the protagonist who debate about the pros and cons of an issue is known as A. Balagtasan, B. Sarsuela, C. Komedia, D. Duplo.
I'm not sure, ma'am. But is it A po?
Okay, let us see if your answer is correct. Wow, Jeline, thank you so much. This proves that you can still remember what we discussed in our previous lesson, or previous discussion. The answer is A. Balagtasan. 4. A play with songs and dances usually written in prose, containing from 1 to 5 acts, depicting the vagaries of romantic love among idealized Filipino characters, and often incorporates contemporary, social, political, economic, or cultural issues for relevance and interest. What's the answer? Is it Comedia? Is it Cariñosa? Is it Zarzuela? Or is it Liwayway?
Is it letter C?
Is it ma'am,
Okay,
C? I
C.
think
Okay,
it's
so Apple and the Haro, and the Merit think that the answer is C. Zarzuela. Let us see if you got it correctly. Wow, you got it correctly. Thank you so much. The answer is C. Zarzuela. And for the last two items, A monorhyming heptasyllabic quatrain expressing insights and lessons of life is called what? Is it A. Tanaga, B. Duplo, C. Kundiman, D. Rondalya? What is it?
A po.
Tanaga?
Oh, A.
Again? Is that Merrick? Okay. Again, Merrick, what's your answer?
Is it A then po, ma'am?
A? Okay. Let's see if that is correct. Okay. Yes, you got it correctly. The answer is A, Tanaga. So for the last item, okay, that was actually the last item. Now, let's proceed to our discussion. Okay, let us continue our lesson. Again, is my screen visible to you? Is my presentation?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, sorry to interrupt you, but as per me, Rick, she is trying to join the class po and asking for your permission to admit her, ma'am.
I didn't see it. Oh my gosh, thank you, Jeline, for that. Okay, let's wait for them a second. Okay, I guess they're all here already. I apologize for the inconvenience that I caused earlier. Again, thank you so much. So, since we are done with our motivational activity, we are done with the recapitulation of the previous lesson. Let us have our lesson objectives that states the things that we are expected to do at the end of the discussion. So, okay, I will be the one who will be reading it out loud for you. At the end of the lesson, the learners will be able to first compare and contrast the different genres of literary texts from different regions in Visayas, discuss the elements and structure of literature, apply literary genres in a test, produce creative representation of appreciation of literary text using multimedia, and reflect understanding through self-assessment. So, let us talk about the genres of literature. Okay. Can someone read the paragraph that is shown in your screen about the genres of literature?
Ma'am, I can see the screen pa po.
You can see it. Okay, let's wait for us.
It's still on the review of previous lesson po.
Really? Okay, is that... how about now? Wait. Just a minute. I'm encountering some technical problems with my application.
Ayan, ma'am. I think it's fine now.
Okay. So can someone read the paragraph that is shown in your screen under genres of literature? Okay, go ahead, Merrick.
Okay, genres of literature. A brief introduction. Genre is the classification of a literary work by its form, content, and style into categories such as poetry, drama, fiction, and non-fiction. From there, literature can be further classified into subgenres. Each genre varies in its features and functions, and understanding what major genre category a work of literature falls into will help to bring deeper understanding to that work.
Okay, thank you so much, Merrick, for reading it out loud for the class. So in literature, every piece of writing, every piece of or collection of literature falls under a general category. And that is what we call... Okay, I admitted someone. Okay. And that is what we call genre. And we experience genres in every aspects of our lives, like watching movies, reading books like, academic books, reading books that interest us the most, like adventure books, mystery books. And each case, the individual genres typically have a distinctive forms and a distinctive structures and styles in terms of how they are composed. Okay, so as the most basic level, there are essentially three main genres that has been introduced to you implicitly, and that is poetry, prose, and then drama. But for now, we'll be talking about the four major genres of literature and that is poetry, fiction, non-fiction, and drama. Okay. Okay. So can someone read the concept and definition of poetry? Okay, Jillian, go ahead.
Concept and definition of poetry. It is the genre of literature that is written or sung that evokes a concentrated imaginative awareness of the author's emotions, feelings, and experiences through language that are carefully chosen and arranged for its meaning, sound, and rhythm.
Okay. So before we explicate the meaning of poetry, have you ever experienced writing a poem before? Any types of poem, either it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes
Okay.
po.
So
Ma'am, like haiku, ma'am.
yes, haiku is one of the forms or examples of poetry. So can you still remember what the title? Did you written? Have you written before? Is it I am in what theme does it portray? Is it about love? Is it about
Yes,
About
ma'am.
yes,
I still remember po.
Okay, okay. So as for me, I've also written several types. I mean several examples of poem way before when I was still studying in high school. And those themes revolve in love, tragedy, compassion, um, love in our country, or any different kinds of love. Okay? So poetry is a style of writing and a genre of literature that tends to be written in verses and typically employs rhythmic and measured approach to composition, meaning it is characteristically known for its evoking emotional responses from the readers through its tone, through the use of repetitive or creative language and imaginative language. So when we are writing poem, all of the meaning or the content evokes from our imagination. I mean our emotions and our feelings. Is that right? Is that how you write poem?
yes po.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes po.
Of course, as for me, I also write poem that is basically and primarily from my own emotions and from my own insights and feelings. How about the fiction? Can someone read fiction, the concept and definition of fiction? Is that okay? Okay, Jade, go ahead, Jade.
Ma'am, I think this, okay po, slide fiction, concept and definition. It is the genre of literature that refers to a story that comes from the author's imagination, as opposed to depiction of factual events. Common examples of fiction literature are novels, short stories, fables, and etc.
Okay, thank you so much, Jade, for reading it for the class. So when we're talking about fiction, it refers to a story that comes from author's imagination. And this, and sometimes the plot, the characters are all created imaginally from the author's imagination. Basically, it is not based on any factual events. It is not based on history. It is not based on existing facts and existing notions in in the system, in the society. So this may include in the form of fables, short stories, novels, what else, etc. There are many kinds of fiction that are told by an author to depict and from based on his imagination. And sometimes all of these authors write because they just want to write based on how they think about something, how they experience something based on their dreams, on their dreams. When you are dreaming, I'm talking about the dream that you are experiencing when you are in your subconscious mind in sleep. Okay, so in conversely, in nonfiction, can someone read the definition of fiction for me? Nonfiction first.
Ma'am, the screen po is still in poet. Ay, ayan po. Okay na po.
I think you mean.
Mina lang po, ma'am.
Go ahead, May.
Okay po. Non-fiction. It is the genre of literature that is usually written to inform and educate. The content within the text are based on facts, evidence, and conclusions of the author's research or expertise. Common examples of non-fiction literature are encyclopedias, academic books, biography, dictionary, etc.
Okay, thank you so much, Mary. So, conversely, or as opposed to fiction, nonfiction is written to inform and to educate our readers. And this is included in the form of dictionaries, in the form of almanac, what else? Encyclopedia, autobiography, biography, and the many to mention. The basic idea is that it is the text, the content of the text is based on facts. It is based on evidence, piece of evidence, and it's based on theories, based on conclusions that the author research or expertise, based on the research expertise. Okay, researchers. So again in nonfiction, the difference is that it is primarily used or primarily written to share information, disseminate information, or to educate the readers. Okay. So can someone read the next genre of literature, the drama?
Nipo.
Is that wrong? I'm not sure.
Fernandez po.
Si Jade. Okay, Jade, go ahead.
Drama, concept and definition. It is the genre of literature that refers to stories composed in verse or prose, usually for theatrical performance. Usual dialogue, scenes, and acts are strongly derived from conflicts and emotions.
Okay. So in drama, it is a type of or a genre of literature that is performed primarily in theaters, and it is performed on stage and traditionally is comprised of different acts or the different parts of the story or the plot. It is generally broken down into 4 subgenres, and it includes, later on we will be talking about the subgenres, but just a heads up for everyone, it includes the comedy, melodrama, tragedy, farce. So yeah, that's the drama. And I just want to ask you, have you ever performed in stage before?
Yes po.
Okay, so can you still recall what happened in the drama, in your play, where it was happened?
It takes place at the National Convention at Laguna, Calamba. They called it infomercial po. I played as Pepay.
Yeah.
It's just a short skit about advertising our culture and like teaching students in character of Pepay that we should idolize or tangkilikin natin yung sariling atin. Yun po.
Thank you so much, Jade, for sharing your experiences in performing or being involved in this kind of literature, of kind of genre in literature. And of course, I will be the one who will be reading this, so that I will read some contents of our discussion. A play can be organized up one act or multiple acts. Each act is divided into scenes wherein characters come on or off stage, speak or act their lines. Common examples of drama or play in literature are Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, and Hamlet by William Shakespeare, Oedipus Rex by Sophocles, etc. So basically, drama is performed and played in different kinds of acts, and each acts produces scenes from the actor's performance. So later on, we will be dealing about the structure or the subgenres, the structure of this kind of genres of literature, so that we can really understand what and how to write this kind of genres of literature. So in poetry, let us have it is about the subgenres of poetry, the elements, and the structure of poetry. Can someone read the subgenre of poetry that you are seeing in the screen?
Ma'am, hindi na lang po.
Go ahead, Jen.
The subgenre of poetry are lyric, sonnet, ode, elegy, dramatic, cyclical, monologue, dialogue, and narrative epic.
Okay, thank you so much, Jem, for reading it for the class. So one of the subgenres of poetry are the following, and this will be discussed in our next meeting because, of course, this is basically the outline of what we are going to talk about for the entire week. And this encompassed several topics with a general idea that encompassed in each category, in its genre of literature. Actually, there are many kinds of poetry, more than the provided one right here, like the lyric poetry, the dramatic poetry, and the narrative poetry. So to sum up, the poetry is divided into three subgenres. That is lyric poetry, that is basically sung and pronounced by the author or by the writer, and the dramatic poetry that talks about, of course, the different dramas that may happen in life, and of course, the narrative, meaning it is written in paragraph form. And one of the examples of poetry that is written in a narrative form is that Beowulf. Are you familiar with Beowulf?
Yes po.
Okay, thank you so much, Jem.
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. And as far as I remember, I thought that Beowulf is not a poem. I thought it is just a fiction, but actually, when my teacher presented all of the the excerpt of the Beowulf, it's actually a poem because it consists of different different imagery, symbolism that we will be talking about now. So the elements of the poetry include rhyme, meter, literary devices, imagery, and symbolism. In rhyme, just a brief description. Rhyme is present in poetry, in poem, that makes the words or in lines appear to have rhyming patterns. Ball, sol, ball, goal. What's that word? Right? The kind of word that is similar with vowels, that has similar vowels. And of course, we have already been or have encountered literary devices in our academic endeavors, right? Can you still remember the different kinds of literary devices?
Yes po.
Okay, can you give
Yes
me?
po.
Okay, can you give
Simile,
May po.
metaphor.
Okay, simile.
Alliteration, personification, onomatopoeia, paradox.
Okay, thank you so much for giving many types of or examples of literary devices. Again, one of the examples of the literary devices, simile, metaphor, hyperbole, personification, synecdoche, what else? Onomatopoeia, alliteration, assonance, and we'll be dealing that later on, okay? So in the structure of poem or poetry is written in lines and stanzas. As you can see, poetry is not written in a paragraph form. It is written in line and stanzas. So we call couplet when the poem have two lines. We call it tercet when the poem has three lines. 4 lines for quatrain, 5 lines for cinquain, 6 lines for sestet, 7 lines for septet, and 8 lines for octave. So for the next, okay, these are the examples of poetry across the Philippines and the world. Okay. So, are you familiar with Sa Aking Mga Kabata by Jose Rizal?
Medyo po.
Medyo po. Okay. So, although we're not dealing with that today, I hope that everyone will be familiar with it in some other time, or you can read it naman online. It is available online. And again, one of the examples of poetry in the Philippines is Sa Aking Mga Kabata, written by Jose Rizal. And the other one is the work of William Shakespeare entitled Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day? Okay. And for the fiction, let us have the subgenres, the elements, and the structure of fiction. Can someone read all of the words or phrases, sentences presented in your screen? Hello guys, can you see my screen? Okay, I guess everyone. Hello, everyone. Can you still hear me? Maybe I.
Yes po.
Yes, po. Okay. So, Maria, Jemima, can you read the subgenre, the elements, and the structure of fiction? Just read it, please.
So the elements of the poetry are rhyme, meter, literary devices, imagery, and symbolism. Whereas for the sige, sige po ulit po yung sa
Oh,
fiction.
yeah, that's,
For the fiction subgenre, the subgenre of fiction are fantasy, folklore, mystery, horror, thriller, historical fiction, science fiction, romance, contemporary fiction. As for the elements, it has a creative pyramid on the elements of the story, plot, setting, characters, and conflict. A plot encompasses exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and denouement. And for the structure, it is written in paragraphs.
thank you so much, Jem, for reading it for the class. So one of the subgenres of fiction or the fiction under this genre of literature are the following: fantasy, folklore, mystery, horror, thriller, historical fiction, science fiction, romance, and contemporary fiction. Always remember that fiction is again created by created in author's imaginations. All of the events, all of the characters, plot are not intended uh, to give factual information, evidences, and existing facts. So as for the elements, one of the famous model of fiction, I mean in recognizing the elements of the story, is that of Freytag's pyramid on the elements of the story. And this encompasses the plot, the setting, the characters, and the conflict. And a plot may encompass exposition, the rising action, the climax, the falling action, and the denouement. And for the structure, fiction is written in paragraph forms. It is not written in lines and verses, unlike in poetry. So one of the examples, or the two of the examples of fiction are Florante at Laura, written by Francisco Balagtas, and The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. Are you familiar with these two literary works by the famous authors?
Opo.
Yes po.
These are one of the most exemplary work written in the whole entire history of literature, right? And for the nonfiction, I will just be reading it out loud since it's just simple, bulleted in a bulleted form. So one of the subgenres of nonfictions are biography, autobiography, references like dictionary, almanac, encyclopedias, narrative or memoir, periodicals like newspapers, magazine, and journals. And the elements that encompass nonfiction are the following: plot, setting, time and place, theme, point of view, mood, narrative time, conflict, symbolism, dialogue, and literary devices. And the structure, as similar to fiction, it is written in paragraphs too. So the difference is that nonfiction is written to mainly inform the readers, to mainly educate the readers. Okay, so later on we will be dealing with the elements of nonfiction, and of course you will be reading literary texts in Philippines, and you will be of course analyzing the plot and the other elements of the story or the plot. Okay, so one of the examples of nonfiction across the Philippines and the world are The Conjugal Dictatorship by Primitivo Mijares and The Second World War by Anthony Before. Are you familiar with the conjugal dictatorship written by
Ma'am,
Primitivo?
excuse me po. The presentation po is still in fiction po.
Okay, okay. Is that okay? Is the
Ayan, ma'am.
presentation
I think it's okay na
It's
po.
just in my application, it's too slow. Okay. Okay. Now, can you see now, right? So are you familiar with Primitivo Mijares' literary work entitled The Conjugal Dictatorship? Can anyone hear me?
Is it something about the martial law po?
Yes, it is just a bit
It's
of
written for Marcos, the
yeah, yeah,
dictator.
yeah. The information that the event that happened during the martial law under the sovereignty of our former president Ferdinand Marcos Sr. Okay, and the next is the Second World War by Anthony Before. Okay, for the drama, let us wait for 5 seconds to see if the screen is already presented.
It's okay po, ma'am.
Okay na. Okay. Thank you so much, Mary. Okay, so Mary, can you read the subgenres of drama and the elements and its structure?
Drama. For the subgenre, it's tragedy, comedy, farce, and melodrama. And for the elements, literary elements, script, technical elements or scenery, set, makeup, costumes, lights, and sounds. And for the performance element, acting, character analysis, and character motivation. And for the structure, the script will serve as the text and perform it in front of an audience.
Thank you so much, Mary, for reading it for the class. So one of the subgenres of drama are tragedy. Tragedy consists, tells the story of a tragic event happened in author's experiences in life or in other aspects of life. And in comedy, of course, it is written primarily to amuse the readers or the readers of the literature. And in farce, it is basically over exaggerated comedy. So it is primarily used to ridicule other people views, other people experiences in life, and so on and so forth. And in melodrama, it's just like it talks about, of course, the themes like love, romance, a bit of tragedy, and that evokes intense emotion from the author. And one of the elements of drama is divided into two categories. That is literary element, technical element, and the performance element. Literary element consists of the script. Basically, the script is the handwritten or either typewritten outline or the outline of the entire performance needed to be performed in the stage. And technical element includes the scenery, the place of the performance will took place, the set, the scenery set, the makeup of the actors, the costume of the actors, of course, and the lights and the sounds are the ones that can make the drama or the performance more interactive, more appealing, and of course more emotion-driven activity. So in performance element, whereas performance elements consist of the acting of the characters, or the acting of the cast, the character analysis or the characterization of this specified characters, and the character motivation. So in the script, in the drama, the structure serve as the text and perform in front of an audience. So basically, script serves as the text that will be performed in front of an audience. Okay. So now we have the following are the examples of drama across the Philippines and across the world. That is Rosman Zafira by Francisco Baltasar, Bagong Cristo by Aurelio Tolentino, Hamlet by William Shakespeare, Oedipus Rex by Sophocles. And okay, before we go into the structure or elements of poetry, I just want to ask if is everything clear? Do you want to clarify something? Are you still following?
Clear naman po, ma'am. We can
Clear
follow
po.
po.
Thank you so much. Both of you who responded. So, okay. So since we're done with the structure, the elements, and the subgenres of the other genres of literature that I have discussed earlier, let us have the different elements of poetry. Can someone read the rhyme. I am in the poetry, the description of poetry seeing that you are seeing in your screen. Can someone read okay? Go on, Jade. Go ahead.
Poetry. Poetry is one of the earliest genres of literature. It was either recited or sung back to prehistoric times to call help from a deity, narrate a hero's life and victories, tell about the love story of the rulers, or describe someone who inspires them. In order to understand or even write a good poem, you must know the elements of poetry.
Okay.
Number one. Okay,
Okay, go ahead, Jade.
go ahead.
Go read the rhyme.
Okay, rhyme. It is identical rhyme if the last words or sounds match each other. Alliteration followed flat, flat, and assonance speak skinny and live.
Thank you so much, Jade, for actively participating or by reading the text presented in the screen. So when we're talking again about poetry, it is written mainly from our emotions, from our feelings. And as authors and writers, we must know the elements of poetry to better give or to better evoke our emotions through these kinds of strategies or through these kinds of elements of poetry. First is again rhyme, as I have mentioned earlier. Rhyme is written in poetry, and it is identical rhyme if the last words or sounds match each other. For instance, in alliteration, followed flats flood, meaning the last words or the vowels presented in those three words are sounded like alike. No? For instance, follow, floods, flood, or is ah. All of those words is accompanied and same with those three words. Okay? And in assonance, are you familiar with assonance? Are you familiar with assonance, everyone? So assonance is basically a type of
It is a literary device po.
yeah, thank you so much. It is a literary device that is written when the vowels of the words presented are alike. Again, same with rhyme, or as part of or as an example of rhyme. For instance, big, skinny, live. So for instance, in a poem, it may look like this: a big living sea, a big living sea. It is okay. So the main point is that it has same sounding vowels. So the sounding vowels there is I, E, big, skinny, lead. So in matter, I will be the one who will read this, and I will call for someone to read imagery and symbolism later. Matter is also called the rhythm in poetry. It is the pattern of beats or foot and the stressed and unstressed syllables in a line. And it is also called foot. Basically, matter in poetry is also called rhythm because it consists of unstressed and stressed syllable in each sounding patterns. For instance, in words like hello, there is unstressed and there is stressed and unstressed syllables there. But we're going to talk about that next in our next meeting. Okay, for the imagery and symbolism, can someone read the definition of it? Okay, go ahead, Mayrick.
Imagery and symbolism. The beauty of poetry is on the carefully chosen words that rhyme in the lines and stanzas with uniform rhythm. Poetry must be also employ figurative language to creatively express emotions, feelings, and ideas.
Okay, thank you so much, Mayrick. So in imagery and symbolism, this two is one of the most common elements of poetry that makes poem interesting, compelling, and sounding to hear. And imagery, it is based on the chosen. It is written to evoke our our five senses, like our sense of sight, our sense of hearing, our sense of taste, our sense of touch, and our sense of taste. So, for instance, in a poem like later on, guys, we will be dealing with the imagery after you read a non-fiction and the fiction literature. So in symbolism, basically it's just how the author writes a poem that uses symbols And these symbols represent concepts, represents living, living, non-living, and living represents notions, etc. So, okay. In metaphor, I am going to be reading this. Metaphor is basically a direct comparison of two unlike things, and it is a type of figure of speech or literary devices that is generally used by talking about two very different kinds of things that have a common link with each other. Hence, the action or the future effect of, the effect of this reading action is will make this two verse or line interesting and of course different and compelling. For instance, he is a strong iron. So the action, the feature or effect of the unrelated thing can be applied to that of related thing and imply a new meaning. And in simile, two unlike things compared to each other using the word like or using the word as. Basically, these are phrases are somewhat similar to metaphors. Why? Because they both uses similarities between the two objects. However, in simile, it is more direct and it implied the basic meaning of what is being stated or said. And in similes, one of the examples is below. He is strong like the thunder in storms. Okay. And onomatopoeia, basically it is just words that imitate a sound. It includes the words bow wow wow, boom, words like that. Like the buzzing bee is on the way on its high. So these are rather simple yet unique figures of speech. And onomatopoeia are words or phrases that is and are similar to the sounds they produce. Diba? For instance, in bow, boom, splash, and then so on and so forth. And in alliteration, the repetition of the same initial sound, it is the repetition of the same initial sound of the words. So as I have mentioned earlier, alliteration is when two or more words in a sentence or in lines or in verses share the first consonant sounds and add style to our writing. For example, strong, striking sound. So the alliteration there is the use of the pattern of using S in the first letter of every word. Strong, striking sound. Okay. Is everything clear? Everyone, can you still follow?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for the responses from you. So we are not done yet. We are dealing now with the assonance, with repetition, with synecdoche key, and personification. So can someone read the assonance, the definition of assonance and its corresponding example? Okay, who's this? Who's the participant? Two participants raise hand, and I can see who is raising their hand actually. So other one will read the assonance, and the other one will read the repetition. It is based.
Ma'am, I am the one who will read the assonance
Go
now.
ahead, Jillian.
Assonance, the resemblance of a sound in words or a syllable. Example, who knows how hollow snore?
Okay, so assonance is the repetition of identical or similar vowel sounds in neighboring words, like fish in chips, in bliss, or bad and man. Oh, Gwendolyn de Guzman entered the waiting room. Okay, thank you so much, de Guzman, for joining our session today. And again, assonance is the repetition of identical or similar vowel sounds in neighboring words. For examples, who knows how hollow snore? Wow, thank you so much for joining the discussion for today. And yeah, Gwendolyn de Guzman, thank you so much. And the other one whom I just admitted. So repetition. Can someone read the repetition, the definition of repetition?
Me po.
Yes. Who is that?
Wrong po.
Okay, go on, wrong.
Repetition. A word, a phrase, or a sentence repeated to emphasize its importance in the entire text. Example, behold, it seems to resist you, and behold this thing.
Thank you so much, Rome for reading it for the test. So when a writer uses or utilizes repetition in poetry, in poem, meaning they are putting multiple iterations of a word or phrase in close proximity to each other, meaning they gives emphasis on what the speaker wants to convey to the readers. So in other words, it is the words or the phrase that is repeated to provide clarity and the emphasis, highlighting deeper meanings embedded in the text. So for instance, the repeated word in the example that has been read by Rom is behold. Okay, so what about the next or the third figures of speech? Can someone read its definition? Okay, I will be calling random persons. So can I call on Alura to read the definition of synecdoche?
Sure, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Synecdoche. A part is made to represent the whole or vice versa. For example, how do you like my new wheels?
Okay, thank you so much, Alura. So simply put, a synecdoche is a turn of phrase where someone refers to the whole of something using a part or a part of something using a whole. So for instance, what are the parts of car? That is wheels. And wheels represent the overall or the general idea of a car. So this author implies that how do you like my new car? Okay? Instead of conveying idea like that, the author used and like this. How do you like my new wheels? Okay, so it's a little bit compelling and of course interesting to read, right? So for the last figures of speech, can someone read its definition? Okay, go on, Miri.
Personification, giving human attributes to an object or animal. For example, the wind spoke of hope and redemption.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mary. So when we're talking about personification, basically it's just gives attributes to an object or an animal. That is basically the attributes coming from a person or a human. For example, the wind do not speak, right? But in using personification, it appears like this. The wind spoke of hope and redemption. So basically, when the author is using this kind of literary devices, he or she wants to convey the information through the symbols or the use of symbolism, because wind represent different kinds of ideas and different kinds of notions, right? So for the last, okay, we have the last two literary devices. Can someone read the definition of hyperbole? Okay, go ahead, Jimmy. You are recognized.
Am I the one po?
Yes, Jimmy.
Hyperbole. It exaggerates the meaning of a sentence. Example, I am so thirsty that I could drink an ocean.
Okay, thank you so much, Jimmy. So when we are talking about hyperbole, these are one of the most common figures of speech in English. And of course, we must have used them at least once, even if we are not a native English speakers, right? And this exaggerates the whole idea or the meaning of the sentence. So for instance, I am so thirsty that I could drink an ocean. And what else in terms of romantic endeavors or romantic events, like I love you more than anything. I love you more than the world. What else? Can you give me an example of hyperbole about romantic experiences you have already experienced? Do you have? If there is, if there is. Okay. Can someone give me an example of hyperbole? Okay. You are okay. Go ahead, Jillian. Give me an example of hyperbole.
Though I didn't even experience to hear anything like this, ma'am. But hyperbole can be example of an hyperbole is that I could reach the stars for you.
Wow, thank you so much, Jillian. That is very impressive example of hyperbole. And I think I've encountered it with my previous endeavors in the internet. So in symbolism, let us have the definition of symbolism. Since it is the last figures of speech we will be dealing today, I will be the one who will be reading this. Symbolism is the use of symbols to convey ideas. And a symbol represents various ideas or things at a time. like darkness, like the color of white, the color of blue, a white rose, etc., and so on and so forth. So symbolism is one of the examples of literary devices where symbols work to represent ideas, concepts, and notions. So in symbolism, the symbols align with the overall tone and theme of the poem. So if you use the color red, or I mean the color, the color red in your poem or in your literary piece, you are evoking intense emotion coming from you as the author. Because red can symbolize several things like hatred, right? Like anger. What else? Like greed, and so on and so forth. So again, symbolism align with the overall tone and theme the author wants to convey in his or her literary work. Okay. So we're done with the discussion. Is everything clear? Do you want to clarify something? Do you have any concerns you want to be addressed today?
None so far po.
So far, thank you so much for the responses. And thank you so much, of course, for actively participating in our class discussion. So to test our understanding based on what we've already learned previously, we will be dealing later on with several activities. And these are the following. Okay, just wait a minute. Wait a second. I'm having difficulties with this application I use to create slides. Okay, are you now seeing my screen, the poetry of Moonset at Central
Yes po,
Park?
ma'am.
Okay, that is good. Okay, so this is already posted in our Google Classroom, but I still attach it in the slide presentation because we will be actively reading the poem by John Iremil E. Theodore, and it is titled as Moonset at Central Park Station of St. Paul Subterranean River National Park. So, all we have to do is we will be reading this out loud. So, can someone read the whole stanza that you are seeing on your screen? Okay, go on, Jade, read the whole stanza.
This morning, after the faint scent of seagrasses awakened me, I followed the setting moon in the reef's flats in front of my bamboo cottage. I nearly stepped on a parrotfish that was caught by the low tide. It was as big as my sleeper.
For the next slide, for the next stanza. Okay, can you now see the updated one? I picked its slimy body. Can you see it, Jay?
Yes, po.
Okay, can you see again read it?
Okay. I picked its slimy body and returned into the sea. In excitement, it forgot to thank me. It didn't even bother to look back. It swam quickly away from me. It dived towards the direction of the horizon where the moon was hiding.
And for the third stanza,
Perhaps in my next visit, that parrotfish will surprise me with a greeting. It shall brag to me about its skills painted by the setting moon.
okay, thank you so much, Jade, for giving expression and reading it with your expression. Thank you so much. And as you can see, the poetry uses different kinds of literary devices. And as you can see here, I have already seen one of the used and utilized literary devices, like about its scales painted by the setting moon. Wow, what a nice author, and how he conveys the meaning of his literary work. So of course, to recognize the author or the one who written the moonset at Central Park, John Irabel E. Teodoro is a Filipino writer, university professor, and a freelance journalist. He is also a multi-awarded poet and playwright, one of the country's leading pioneers in gay literature, and the most published author in the Karay, a dialect to date. Okay, so one of his famous works are the one that was read by Jade. That is Moonset at Central Park Station of St. Paul Subterranean River National Park. So, of course, since I've already sent this to our Google Classroom, all you have to do now is to perform an activity, and it is titled Looking Glass. So can someone read the instructions presented in the screen? The instructions of the activity. Okay, go ahead, Mary.
Examine the literary work by looking into the elements applied in the text. Examine and discuss the following: imagery and literary devices.
Okay, thank you so much, Mary. So again, all you have to do is to locate the imagery you found in the literary piece presented earlier and read earlier by Jade. And of course, added to it is you need to look for the literary devices utilized by the author. So I will be sending here the link, and of course, I already sent it to our GC. Okay, can you now access the link? Okay, I will stop sharing my screen and I will go to Google Jamboard now. Wait. Stop share. Share screen. Jamboard. Okay. Yeah, participants now can see the application. Okay, we have already 2 participants in the Jamboard. And it's Anonymous Fox and Anonymous Wolf. What an interesting name for an anonymous person. Guys, can you access now the Google Jamboard I've sent to you? Okay. I'll be sharing this to another section that is present. Yeah, someone is already answering. Thank you so much. We are already 3 in the Jamboard. This is Anonymous Fox. Who are you, Anonymous Fox? Okay. I hope that everyone is participating with our activity. And of course, this will allow us to understand better the different literary devices that we've already discussed earlier. Okay, Maria Jemima is admitted. Are you? Yeah, we are already 4 in the Google Jamboard. Anonymous Fox, Anonymous Wolf, Anonymous Sienna, and Anonymous Platypus. Okay, I will give you at least 10 minutes to answer the following. Answer this activity entitled The Looking Glass. Okay. What's this? Anonymous Fox. How are you doing, guys? Are you having trouble to access the link?
Yes, ma'am. I access it po. Currently working on it, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dylan, for that. Okay. Looking Glass. Okay, I am seeing the personification, and it is from the line, after the faint scent of seagrasses awakened me. Wow, what a great idea. Okay, I am seeing olfactory imagery under the imagery used in the poem. And again, another personification. Perhaps the fish will surprise me with a greeting. Wow, flags in front. Okay. Oh my gosh, my students is performing very well. Okay. Visual imagery. Okay. Who is this? The anonymous platypus. The names are interesting. The name of the animals I've never, very unfamiliar.
Done already, ma'am.
Done already. Thank you so much, Jeline, for acting as the representative of the entire section. So, Okay, wow. I've seen another one. A simile, and it was it was as big as my sleeper. Wow. Great.
Done na, ma'am.
Okay, done na. Okay. So, can someone recite me or can be the representative of the group to explain just a brief explanation of what you have seen or noticed and located from the from the poem that we've already read. Just a quick explanation, my dear student. Okay, go on. Go ahead. Jillian Rose Ibanez, you are raising your hand.
Ma'am, for the imagery that was incorporated in the literary work, I spot two po. The olfactory imagery po, ma'am. On the olfactory imagery, ma'am, I spot on the literature the quote after the faint scent. Here in this line in the poem, ma'am, calls us to, I mean, it was aligned to our sense of smell po. On the other hand, in the visual imagery naman po, I spot what do you call this? A verse or a line that I followed the setting moon in the reef flats in front of my bamboo cottage po. On the other hand, this quotes po was aligned to our sense of sight on the other hand.
Okay, thank you so much, Jeline, for explaining it to the class. So there are imagery used in the literary work presented by the author John Iramil, right? And the one of it is the following: the olfactory imagery and the visual imagery. Olfactory imagery appeals to our sense of taste and sense of sense of taste, and in visual imagery it appeals to our sense of sight. And one of the literary devices used in the poem are personification, simile, alliteration, and assonance. So basically, the author utilized different strategies or different literary devices incorporated in his written poem. So now, since we've done the activity, and I know that you aced this first activity, let us go to the memoir at a kind of nonfiction literature written by Kurt Joshua o Comendador. So, since we have no time already, I will just giving you the plot or the synopsis happened in this literature. Again, this is Another Universe by Kurt Joshua o Comendador. So one day, I will just be storytelling this one. So one day, this person, this person went to the spring resort along with his girlfriend, and he saw a vendor of champurrado. And this vendor of champurrado seems to have difficulties in selling the champurrado because he is not wearing a right pair of his slippers. And also, the author, I mean the one that narrates the story, thought that this champurrado vendor would not sell because the pot is already is blackened with soot, blackened with coal because it is cooked directly with the fire or the flame. And a point of time, the one that narrates the story thought, has been torn to buying a champurrado or not buying a champurrado. But in the end, the one that narrates the story was eaten by his guilt because he did not buy or he did not purchase champurrado at all. After all of the thoughts that indulged with his mind, he did not buy at all. No? So if you are the one that narrates the story, would you buy champurrado or a cup of champurrado from this vendor? Hello, guys. Are you still here? Are you still there? Again, the story, the question, if you are the one that narrated the story, would you buy champurrado to this champurrado vendor in the spring resort?
I think, ma'am, if it is Yung sunog, parang sunog po ba yung ano? I think it is a big no because champorado should not be burnt at all. But if you're really craving to it, maybe.
So thank you, Jade, for the insight you will notice or located from the memoir of Kurt Joshua Comendador. The guilt was beyond the expectations because this person that narrates the story thought that he would buy the champorado, but actually in the end he did not buy at all. So the author noticed the vendor in some part of the story that offered him a champorado or a chocolate porridge in English about his size and his age, meaning this champorado vendor has same age with this person who narrates the story. And as they were about to leave, the one that narrates the story and the other is the girlfriend, he saw the vendor again walking with a drug while the author is left to wonder about his unpaired sleeper. So basically, as you can infer from the story, from the memoir, it talks about the differences of social status existing in our society, right? The one that is more privileged, the one that is less privileged. So basically, memoir is a personal experience told by a person who experienced it personally. Okay? So basically, these are the moments or the experiences that was remarkable for him or for her. So yeah, if you have time, you can still read it. But I still posted it in our Google Classroom so that you will be able to finish it. Okay, so for the last activity, I'm sorry guys for making time. I mean, making too much. Allotting more time to this demonstration teaching. But the end is we will be learning more about it. So the activity 2 that we will be performing at our last discussion is called Fill Me With My Recipe. So can I call someone to read the instructions of the activity 2? Are you not seeing my screen, Jen?
Opo. So activity 2, fill me with my recipe. Read and study the literary work Another Universe written by Kurt Joshua O. Comendador and fill in the chart. Here are the elements, aspect, and opo.
Okay. So all you have to do is, of course, this will be our formative assessment at the end of our discussion because we are lacking time. So all you have to do is to group yourselves into one. Wait, let me see. One, two. Less than 1 minute. Stop ko na ha.
Cut mo na, sis.
Bye-bye. Send ko na lang. Yan, thank you. Okay. Now, again, to reiterate what we're going to do today, or at the end, I'm in the activity 2. We're going to read again the literary work Another Universe written by Kurt Joshua O. Comendador and fill in the chart you are seeing on the screen. And the activity is entitled Fill Me With Details or Fill Me With My Recipe. Okay. So you only have 7 to 10 minutes to finish this. And I hope that everyone will be participating. Okay, I'm seeing the setting. And the setting took the spring resort. And the plot. The plot, you don't have to answer the plot because we don't have time anymore. I will just post the link to our Google Classroom about the plot of the story Another Universe by Kurt Joshua Comendador. Okay, I'm seeing so the setting is at the spring resort. The theme includes social status, poverty, guilt. Yeah, you are very impressive guys. So seeing the 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 characters of the story. You can go to the next slide, guys. So I'm seeing again the characters include the champurrado vendor or the rice chocolate rice porridge vendor, the narrator, and his girlfriend or the girlfriend of the narrator. So okay. Okay. So we're almost done, and we just need to feel this mood to finish our discussion. Okay, I'm seeing guilt, light-hearted pity, and curiosity as the mood of the memoir. Yeah, guilt. Okay. Okay. I think we'll just cover the plot, the setting, the theme, the characters, the point of view, and the mood. So can someone recite me what have you learned in this particular memoir that we have encountered today? Just a brief description of its plot, just very brief. Its setting, its theme, its characters presented, the point of view used by the author, and the mood inferred or indicated. Okay. Can someone just explain very brief?
Me po.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay po. In the literary work Another University by Kurt Joshua Comendador, it is a story that depicts the hierarchy or the social status of the person, because of the three people, because the narrator, he wants to eat the champurrado, and he was pitying the champurrado vendor, and he was torn between if he will buy or will not. And also the mood of the story is guilt, lighthearted pity, and curiosity, because it was the narrator's feelings, and the story was told in first person point of view, and the setting happened at the spring resort. And I think that's all po.
Okay, thank you so much, Jade, for your insight, and that is very concise and of course apply to the read of the literary work by Kurt Joshua Comendador. And so to test your understanding on the next on our entire discussion, so wait a minute, I'm going to stop sharing and share my Canva presentation.
Yes po.
Okay, thank you so much. Ayan.
Yes, ma'am.
Once natin see your screen. Okay, since we've done with the fill with my recipe activity, we will now go to what we have learned today. So it's just basically a simple post test about what we have learned today. So let us answer the following questions or statements presented in your screen. Identify what is being described in each statement. So I will be just reading it for the class, and you will be the one who will be answering it. So first item, it refers to a literary device that uses a part to represent the whole or vice versa. Can you still remember?
Is it synecdoche?
Okay, synecdoche. Let us see that later, okay? But because the next screen will be showing all of the answers. So let us proceed to the next. Again, the number one answer that Jade provided is synecdoche. How about the next item? It is poetry uploaded in the World Wide Web, where the primary medium is a computer screen. So since this was not covered in our discussion earlier because we have no time left, we'll just need to go with the next item. It is a literary genre that tells stories that actually happen in real life. Examples can be dictionaries, encyclopedias, references, modules, and journals.
Non-fiction, ma'am.
Okay, nonfiction. So we've filled in with synecdoche, the first one. The third one is nonfiction, and the fifth one is these are narratives that are based on the author's dreams and imagination. Okay, what do you think it is?
Non-fiction po.
Okay, nonfiction. That nonfiction, is that your final answer, Jade? Final answer, and so do you mean since Jillian answered nonfiction in the third item, Jade? What is your final answer in the item? These are narratives that are based on the author's dreams and imagination.
Is it fiction?
Fiction, ma'am.
Fiction. Let us see now your answer. So we've filled in with the three only because we've not discussed the following, the second and the fourth. Okay. So first is again, Jade is correct, synecdoche. Jillian is right, nonfiction, and Apple and Jillian is right. The answer is, for the last one, is fiction. Again, what we have discussed today is the different literary devices under poetry, the different genres of literature, poem or poetry, fiction, nonfiction, and drama, its subgenres, its elements, and its structures. And we've learned the two literary works that we've read earlier, and that is memoir and a nonfiction literary work. So for the activity, assignment. Now, since we've not discussed the other types of new genres of literature, do you know, guys, that we have new genres of literature in this mode of learning, and in this after that, I mean, due to the advancement of technology, and that arrived the different kinds or genres of literature. However, since we've not discussed that, I will be posting the discussion, a video discussion about the new genres of literature tomorrow, and this assignment will be submitted next week on the same day, and of course you will be uploading it and submitting it to our specified Google Classroom. And can someone read the instructions of our assignment or our assessment?
Me, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead, Apple, Joy.
Assignment. Write a free verse quatrain poem with 2 stanzas regarding the countries and the world suffering from the COVID-19 pandemic. Upload your work on any social media platform you prefer, for example, Facebook, Twitter, and Reddit, and take a screenshot of your work once it is uploaded.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Apple, for reading it for the class. So all you have to do is, of course, you will be creating a free verse quatrain poem, meaning it has 4 lines and it is written in free verse with 2 stanzas regarding or concerning with our countries and the world suffering from the COVID-19 pandemic. And your work or this poem will be uploaded on your any social media platforms you prefer, whether it will be posted on Facebook, on Twitter, Reddit. And to make sure that I will see that, you need to take a screenshot of your work once it is uploaded. You can do this after this discussion, but I will still be sending the discussion about new genres of literature, because of course it will help you to better understand how to write literature in this new advance. I mean the results or the outcomes of the advancement of the technology. Okay, so since we are done with the reading the instructions of the activity, these are the rubrics that you need to refer to in creating your poem, or your poem. And this of course will be uploaded in our Google Classroom of 2 later on after this discussion. And of course you will be reflecting what you have learned today, a self-assessment that you need to accomplish Be sure that you will be honest in answering this assessment. And of course, reflect your answers based on what you have performed from the learning activities earlier. So again, this will also be posted in our Google Classroom, and all you have to do is to fill it in with a check mark, okay? A check mark only. Okay, thank you for a lovely session. That is all for our today's discussion regarding the genres of literature and the different types of literary devices, and so some lesson. I hope that you are enlightened with our discussion, and I hope that you all learn from it. Okay? Thank you so much for attending our class today.
Thank you
so
po.
much. Bye-bye.
Thank you
Thank you
po.
po,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Bye po.